Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Jitesh Ramakrishnan. Episode 54, I believe. It's an exciting one. A lot to talk about as usual. I got the NBA Finals in full swing. Game 3 will be tonight at 8:30. We're recording this on Wednesday the 12th, so Game 3 might already be in the books, but definitely a lot to talk about from the first two games and what to expect out of the next two games, maybe even more than that. Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely talk about that. Stanley Cup also shifting to Edmonton for Game 3. NBA finals are shifting to Dallas. So both series 2-0. The Florida Panthers up 2-0 on the Oilers, obviously, and then the Boston Celtics with commanding 2-0 lead against the Mavs. As always, we can start with the NBA. I mean, the Mavs did look a bit more competitive in the second game. First game was pretty dominant. Celtics win. The Celtics are just like the better team, and I think we all knew that. But I felt
Yeah,
like the Mavs would
yeah,
have a
but
bit more
yep.
of a chance.
I mean, here's the thing. You could
Go
look at
ahead.
it this. You could look at it this way. The Mavs were a little bit more competitive in Game Two, but you can also look at
They
it this
were.
way. The Celtics were garbage from the 3 point line, and they still won by 7 points. Garbage.
Yeah,
Of
both teams
course,
were pretty awful in
of,
3-point shooting,
of course,
but
of,
including the
of,
Celtics.
of
Yeah.
course. Now the story going into Game Three is Kristaps Porzingis is out for injury because of I don't know what the hell is that. Like I saw the tweet from Shams and doesn't even look like
And did
English. I don't
not make
understand.
any sense to me.
No, I don't understand
Yeah,
medical
it's like
lingo,
so
so it doesn't sound like English. But that's gonna be the wild card for Game Three and potentially Game Four, and who knows for the rest of the series. But I think the Celtics will be fine if they can get one game in Dallas. I mean, of course, ideally they want to end the series in Dallas, but and that's certainly possible because the Celtics are 9-1 without Porzingis throughout the playoffs. Of course, Dallas is a completely different animal from Miami, from Cleveland, and from Indiana. That's
Mhm.
100% true because neither of those three teams had two of is this yeah neither of those three teams had one of the most dynamic players in the league in Kyrie Irving and a top five player in the league in Luka Doncic. So that's more than reasonable to say. But I think I mean I honestly I don't know if the Celtics will because let's see. Yeah, like even with Porzingis and Horford in the lineup. Oh yeah, that's the one who's going to have to step up today. Old man Al Horford, with the absence of Porzingis and possibly going down the depth chart. Maybe even Queta and Tillman. They might be called upon today, and throughout the series until Porzingis is able to come back. I don't think Cornette's going to see serious minutes, so I think it'll be Horford, and then most likely maybe they'll because the Celtics have also shifted with Tatum being like the small center lineup at certain times. I don't see that holding on for too long. So I think the Celtics will take big minutes with Horford, and then they'll possibly like defer to Queta or Tillman. So we'll see what happens from there. But I do anticipate today will be a far better 3 point shooting game for both teams. I mean, it's kind of hard for both teams to look like the 2018 Game 7 Rockets from 3 point line in an
Yeah.
NBA Finals game. So I don't really anticipate that happening again. I mean, anything can happen, yeah. But even with Porzingis out today, we'll see how the Celtics stack up because with both KP and Al in the lineup at the same time, uh, the Mavs big man game has been stymied, uh, like and it's been stymied pretty well. And even then, like Al was able to like pretty well. I was kind of surprised. Al was able to pretty well rotate in defense, and same with KP when he got injured in game two. Like even with his injury afterwards, he was still able to guard Kyrie Irving for a little bit, and then he still had
Mhm.
that critical defensive block. Uh, and he's still able to like move. I mean, albeit a lot slower than what he was able to move prior to his injury, but he's still able to move. So that's why I thought maybe the injury wasn't all that significant. But then again, you never want to hear tour and dislocation in the same sentence. So
Yeah,
that figures. But
I
of course,
agree.
of course, with the with the Mavericks going down 2-0, the series and the pressure on the tide turns completely on them. Uh, and if there's pressure on one person, it would definitely be Kyrie Irving because Luka Doncic has had 30 and 32 in both games. Uh, and well, Kyrie, where have you been? Uh, you've scored 12 and you scored 16 in games 1 and 2. Like, where exactly have you been? And also, where's just the Mavs bench? Like, aside from Luca, who seems to be the only one who cares about scoring, there isn't like PJ Washington puts up some buckets, yeah, and Kyrie Irving like scores for the first half and then seems to disappear afterwards. But even then, like Gafford isn't really getting that much points. Lively isn't getting that much in points. So like, um, there's got to be someone who's got to step up for the Mavericks. Me personally, I hope it's no one because I'd like to see the Celtics win. But um, but I mean, this is just showing that you know, for you remember how before going into the NBA Finals, everyone on Twitter was talking about most talented backcourt of all time, Kyrie, Luca, like all that, like the hype around that was just
Right.
quite astronomical. I mean,
Yeah.
you might want to see that game three if Kyrie bothers to show up. Honestly, even if Kyrie puts up like 25 or something, I think Mavs fans will take that because Luca can't constantly be relied upon as. I mean, he will be. He. I'm not saying he isn't capable. He's more than capable of scoring 30 points every single game, and a lot more. Like with the way the first quarter was going in game two, I thought he's going to put up 40. But he just disappeared with scoring after the first half. So there, but at least he's been the primary scorer, just putting up 30 both games. Kyrie's been nowhere. If there's anyone who needs scoring pressure on them, it's him. It's pretty much solely falls on Kyrie Irving.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Kyrie's been like a bit. He hasn't really scored too much. Yeah, like you said, he held to 12 in game one, 16 in game two. The rest of the Mavs bench, I mean, not too much. Not too many points either. But they've been in double figures. At least in the second game, more of a diverse scoring effort. PJ Washington 17, Jones 11, Gafford 13. But yeah, Luka's really had to put the team on his back 2 games in a row. People are saying that he's has a really good chance of winning Finals MVP, even if they lose. And the way
I
that he's
I
playing, like
I,
I could
I
potentially
mean
see it, but I feel like just one of the Celtics players would get it. Probably
the
even
the
Jalen Brown if he has a
question.
couple of
I
big
mean
games,
I
maybe.
mean there,
But we'll have to see.
I mean I think like there's two big contenders for the Finals MVP right now. First being Jalen Brown, second being Drew Holiday. Then I think a toss-up candidate would be Derek White. That's what I think. But it's funny you mentioned him, like first Finals MVP despite losing effort because that seems like the perfect way to honor Jerry West, who died this morning, 86. First only NBA Finals MVP who's on the losing team. That was in 1969, if I'm correct with that. Um, so, but I mean, even then, going back on track, like in my mind, uh, this goes for this goes for any sport. In my mind, I don't think I don't think there should be an MVP uh, for someone who's lost a like for someone who's on the losing team in the final series. I don't think that really makes much sense unless unless Kyrie puts up like unless if like the Mavs are swept and Kyrie scores like 3 points and like 4 points in the next 2 games, then sure you can probably give Kyrie the Finals MVP. But I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, no, it'll take certainly a lot for that to happen if like the Mavs won 4 in a row and Kyrie really stepped up and like I said, yeah, suddenly took over and scored like 30 per game and completely overshadowed Luca. But I think Luca Magic, Luca Doncic probably has a pretty decent shot if he keeps this up, especially if he brings them back into series. For the Celtics, I mean, Jaylen Brown's really been impressive first two games.
And
I mean, it's Jason
one thing I
Tatum's
want to
shot
say,
really
I
well,
mean,
but yeah, go ahead.
here's the thing. Like Tatum, yes. Like games two, he was 6 for 22. Yes, that can't really be understated. But here's the thing:
Right,
if you watch the entire game, you'll see that Tatum was constantly double and triple teamed. I mean, of course, he was still able to score then, and yes, he had a fairly bad shooting night, but still, he was drawing attention of the defense, which allowed him to kick out assists to Drew Holiday, which allowed him to kick out to Jaylen Brown, which allowed him to like drive to the paint, get fouled, take free points from the charity stripe, and even then, like he was getting the boards, he was dishing out the dimes, like, and he nearly had a triple double. Well, sure, the point totals aren't exactly sexy for Jason Tatum in the finals right now. That doesn't matter though, because he's able to get once you like. It doesn't matter if one person on this team is cooking by himself. If the rest of the team is able to cook, you're going to hell. So that's what the Boston Celtics are doing right now. Everyone who's touching the basketball is scoring. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford. Everyone is scoring. It's not just Jason Tatum is putting up 40 points per game. Everyone is constantly in double figures, and that seems considerably more overwhelming than just one dude just being the monster, just being the
I
wrecking ball.
agree.
So I I don't
Yeah,
care if Jason Tatum. I don't care if Jason Tatum scores 0 points in game three. If he's able to get the assists and get his other teammates involved, and if he's able to grab those rebounds and then force the passes into the defense, that way you can catch the Mavericks in like a lazy transition defense or something, and that allows for 2 or 3 easy points for the Celtics. I don't care if he scores zero. Just be involved, get your teammates involved, draw attention from the defense, get the free throw lines, and there you go. I don't care if he scores zero or if he scores 50. Now, if he scores 50, of course, I'll be thrilled. But if he scores
yeah,
zero, I don't care if everyone else is involved.
yeah. I agree. I mean, the Celtics. I mean, they just have so many guys who can beat you. I mean, Tatum, Brown, their whole starting lineup really. Derek White, Drew Holiday, of course Horford, but especially Porzingis. I feel like in each game, they had like a variety of options, and they're always just one pass ahead. They always had one extra shooter open to kick out to. So they're doing a great job. Game one, obviously, Porzingis, his return from injury, I think he really stood out in game one on just the
He
shots
was
he
the
was
MVP
getting,
for
shooting
game
the
one.
for big players. Yeah,
He
shooting
was
30 feet threes at 7-5, defending the rim, attacking the rim, shooting mid range. Like he was doing it all. Like it's like he never left, and
yeah
he really
K
provided the
K
Celtics that
yeah
extra
K
boost for sure.
KP was the game one MVP. Drew Holiday was the game two MVP.
Yeah, exactly. And Drew Holiday with 26 points, 11 boards. I mean, he was just all over the place. I mean, the defense too was outstanding. But I mean, yeah, he really put up a good number and really led the team in game two. So I feel like Porzingis game one, Drew Holiday game two. We'll see who it is in game three for the Celtics. But yeah, it just seems like they have so many. Not even seems like they just do have so many options where they can go to, and you never know who's going to step up for them. They have, a full starting lineup of players who can play well at any given time. All the Mavericks, they've definitely improved on that. They with their versatility. Maybe hasn't shown up so much in these finals, but I mean, obviously getting the front court of PJ Washington and Gafford and Derek Lively, although he's been kind of quiet this series, but Derek Jones. I mean, they've definitely like solidified their lineup, but I mean, you really can't put all the pressure on Luka. Obviously, you need those other guys to step up. You definitely need Kyrie, I guess pull his weight in the backcourt at least for sure, and have the superstar duo going for Dallas. So we'll see how home court, certainly impacts things for that for Kyrie. Seemed like game one, maybe Boston fans might have been a little quiet, which Kyrie took notice to. Game two, they were definitely loud.
Quiet.
I'm sure they're loud for both. I'm sure they're loud for both games, but I mean, they took it
Yeah.
up a notch for game two. They were like really, really
I mean,
booing him,
I
and
mean, I
the
think that's
rivalry
I think
certainly.
that's a lot of I think that's a lot of bold talk for someone who's been 0-12 against the Celtics for the past 3 years. But sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess those, the whole the whole thing was from the Brooklyn days. That hasn't gone away
Of
completely,
course not.
and both sides. Of course not. I mean, there's just a lot of bad blood with the way he left and everything he did in his time with the Nets. Those playoff series were contentious for sure, and bringing it in with the Mavs, it just makes for some entertainment too for the neutral fan, I guess. But we'll see how things shift over in Dallas. If the home crowd can really get Luka's been going the whole series, but more so like Kyrie Irving, and see if yeah, like I said, game one a bit more lopsided. Celtics certainly in control the whole time. Game two was kind of ebbs and flows. Celtics still had the advantage, but the Mavs were able to cut into it. And every time the Mavs cut into it, the Celtics would come up with a big play or a big shot, or maybe even two to put them out of reach. So it'd be like Celtics were up by 10 or 12, then the Mavs would cut it back. And then again, the Celtics went up by 10 or 12, the Mavs cut it back, but the Mavs were never able to quite get into it until like I guess the very end. And then the big block obviously with Derek White and I think Jaylen Brown combined for the block. That was obviously huge. I mean, you can argue there might have been a little push, but I don't think anything was that serious where like a foul would be called or should be called in that moment. You could argue it for sure, but I think it was fair play. Just a little bit of a push there, but I mean, yeah, it's like every time the Mavs had a chance, the Celtics kind of took it away. But it's good to see that they were more competitive because I mean, I don't think you want to sweep in the NBA Finals unless you're a Celtics fan. But I mean, you know what I mean.
I mean, but, game two looked. I mean, I thought game two looked a lot more competitive on paper because, like, if you watch, if you saw like the last like 3 minutes of game two, the Celtics pretty much had everything on lockdown. Like, yeah, the Celtics gave up like 8 lazy points within like a span of like 90 seconds in the last in the last like 2.5 minutes to a minute within the game. So yeah, it looked a lot more competitive on paper, but we'll just see what happens. I mean, I personally, I still anticipate the Mavericks winning at least one game here in Dallas. I don't know if it's going to be game 3 or if it's going to be game 4. I still anticipate Dallas winning one of them. And maybe I'm just saying that because I'd like to see the Celtics win at their home court. But, like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's your home court or if it's it doesn't matter if it's the home court or the visitors' court. A win's a win. So you just got to go in with that. And, sir, you're a man down. Next man up. Just got to step up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with Porzingis gone, with whatever, the full injury is a torn medial retina. I'm not even going to try to do this. A torn medial.
It's not even English.
Retinaculum, allowing dislocation of the posterior to tibialis tendon. And
that's not even English.
Yeah, like you said, it makes so it's like anyway. Like you said, it doesn't sound good if something's torn and something else is dislocated, and it just doesn't really sound like he's going to be able to play. Well, we'll see. I mean, it does look like he's day to day. He obviously wanted to play, but we'll see. So I mean, but yeah, even without Porzingis, I mean, they played pretty well without him in the playoffs. So I mean, so far. So I mean, Porzingis obviously provides that extra piece that they can put them over the top, stretch the floor, defend the rim. But I mean, they still have a very solid team. Horford can definitely step in as a primary center like he has all playoffs, and they still got, of course, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, the whole and Horford. So I mean, yeah, I agree. I think the Mavs do take one. I mean, Celtics have given one except for the Pacers series, but I think the Mavs are a bit of a better team. I think they take at least one in the series, maybe 2, but probably just one. I think the Celtics still are the better team. I think they take it 5.
If there is one thing that's interesting, though, if there is one thing that's interesting, though, the Celtics are a perfect 6. Well, heading into the finals, they're a perfect 6-0 on the road. They won 2 in Miami. They won 2 in Cleveland. They won 2 in Indiana, and those are all like fairly tight contests. So, I mean, of course, Indiana being the most razor thin. So it shows that even when the clock is against you, I mean, and if you remember Game 4 against Indiana, 4 minutes left to go. Indiana was up by 8. They didn't score in the final 3.5 minutes, and the Celtics came roaring back. So And this again, this is without Porzingis. This is when Indiana could not miss if they tried. So anything could happen. Like anything can happen both ways. So uh, let's just see what happens. But either way, Celtics are taking this series.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just a matter of how many games. Could be four, could be five, maybe six. I don't think it'll go that far the way things are shaping out. But who knows? But that's probably the absolute most. I think more likely five, but you never know. But yeah, my guess would be five. I could see six. I could see four, but I do think the Mavs get a game. But either way, I think the Celtics take it pretty convincingly. I guess shifting over now to the ice. Stanley Cup Finals. Similar series in some ways. The Panthers are up 2-0 heading north to Edmonton. Saw they're having some issues with the weather,
Well,
but
I
I think
mean,
their forwards.
it's probably a bit more similar than you think, because here's the Oilers are like the Mavericks. They have the 1-2 combo of McDavid and Draisaitl,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
Kyrie and Luca and Kyrie. You have arguably the best
Yeah,
player in the world in Doncic, and an excellent sidekick in Kyrie, and then you have the best player in the world with McDavid, and then you have a top-notch sidekick with Draisaitl. I mean, of course, the Oilers. I mean, I don't exactly know how you'd compare the Mavericks and the Oilers. I would say that the Oilers are more stacked with offensive talent than the Mavericks, but I don't know. And then you have the more dominant team that's 2-0. I mean, the Boston Celtics, the Florida Panthers, the more dominant team. So, and of course, like the
yeah, I
home
can
team,
see that.
and of course, the home team has won the first two games, and the crowd has been rowdy. The crowd has been loud. It's been able
Yeah,
to
I was watching
get
the
into
game yesterday.
yeah,
The
and
fans
been
are
able to get in
quite
yeah,
quite
they're able to
nuts.
get into their opponents' heads too. So, I mean, here's the thing:
Hmm.
the Oilers had the perfect chance to steal Game One. They were the far more dominant team on offense. They registered
Yeah,
way more shot attempts, way more shots and goals. They were a lot more pressured in Florida's zone. They just cannot solve Sergei Bobrovsky. And then the Oilers in the first half, first period, I should say, they didn't register a single shot and goal for the first 10 minutes, and then lo and behold, they score a goal just like that. And then the offense just shows up and doesn't bother to show up. And again, Skinner he's been good for the Oilers. I mean, sure, the scores don't exactly look like that 3-0 and 4-1, but that's because you're not watching the game. Skinner's registered a lot. Skinner has been like, fairly effective against Florida. Like the only reason like it looks like that is because of the empty net goals in both games. Uh, Skinner has been in my opinion, he's been a far more effective as the Oilers netminder than I thought he'd be against Florida. I thought he'd be the main reason why Edmonton would probably lose this series. He's the only reason Edmonton has a fighting chance. That high flying offense from Edmonton, they did not show up in game two at all. Aside from the first goal, they have not showed up. And who would have thought Evan Rodriguez, of all people, Evan Rodriguez puts two in the net for Florida? Like, I didn't have that on my bingo card. But aside from that, like, as we've seen time and time again with every Panther series, there's always some chippiness and some cheap shots and some dirty tricks that Panthers are always up to. And sure, it's the perfect way to rattle your opponent, but it's also perfect when the NHL doesn't call that. I mean, did you see Aaron Ekblad put Evan Bouchard in a
oh
chokehold? Yeah, and
yeah,
of course,
and him tapping out. Yeah, I
yeah,
saw that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's of course the controversial hit with Warren Fogle um, on Eetu Luostarinen. I don't know what Luostarinen's status is on his leg. I don't know if they put out a status yet. He got a game misconduct, and then of course there's the no call on with Draisaitl and Barkov. Um, my take on this is, I mean, probably wouldn't be agreed. I don't think Draisaitl should be suspended for that hit because Florida has gotten away with worse hits. Like, it's that plain and simple. And also, like Draisaitl's not a dirty player. Everyone on Florida is a dirty player,
Right.
pretty much. And the two dirtiest players are Bennett and Kachuk, without a doubt. But Kachuk's been fairly tame compared to Sam Bennett in these playoffs. But if there's ever a time for the Oilers to step up, it's right freaking now. You're down 2-0. You're going in front
You
of
don't
your,
want to go down 3-0.
yeah, you're going in front of your rowdy fans tomorrow. You got to step up. You got the best. And here's the thing: McDavid has been with the Oilers for 9 years now. He's never had this great of a chance to sniff a Stanley Cup as he's had compared to this year. Well, maybe you could argue 2022, but they were overwhelmed by the Colorado Avalanche. Like the Oilers have never had this great of a chance to sniff a Stanley Cup with McDavid, with Draisaitl until now. And now you're able to sneak off Zach Hyman, who's a 50 goal scorer. Ryan Nugent Hopkins is as electric as ever. Your defense and the defense has been the one killer for Edmonton. You have Matthias Ekholm again. You have Evan Bouchard. Darnell Nurse has been a problem, yes, but he can be effective sometimes. The time is now, Edmonton. Wake the hell up. Unless if you want to see Florida hoist Lord Stanley on your ice. I don't think Gretzky would like that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, no, the Oilers definitely do have to wake up. I mean, they have been, especially game one, they were much more dominant. Even though the Panthers got the win because Bobrovsky was just a brick wall in the goal and stopped everything. And the Panthers still able to create shots and get some goals. Obviously, Rodriguez and Verhage and Lusterinen all with the goal piece. But then game two, I mean, the Panthers much more dominant. They got a power play goal stopping the Oilers' big streak. The goals were also pretty nice. In game two, obviously, Rodriguez had a couple of them, right? Yeah, he had a couple. The deflection was nice. The other shot was nice. The one where he just went high up and beat Skinner, and then I mean both of those were pretty nice. Ekblad got a goal, and empty net. There's an empty net goal in there too. And Mikkola, that was an interesting sequence where he almost had an own goal, kind of spun around, and then on the other end of the ice got a goal, and then Edmonton got one. But I mean, just at home. But I mean, just wasn't enough. It feels like the Panthers definitely just a lot more dominant in game two, and they were able to kind of wake up after. They still were able to win game one, even though I think in both games, right? Like the Oilers had more shots, right? Or am I missing?
No. The Oilers were significantly outmatched in game two in shots. Significantly.
In shots, yeah. Oh yeah, no, never mind. I think towards the end they started to catch somewhat back up, but the Panthers outshot them significantly in game two. And game one, the Oilers outshot Florida.
I know I said Edmonton in 6. Mainly because I hate the Panthers and because I want McDavid and Draisaitl to finally win a championship. But we said going into the finals that Florida has more depth stacked, and they did get here last year. They're back here for a reason.
Right.
So it looks like that losing experience has really. I wouldn't exactly call it mentoring, but looks like that losing experience and knowing how to go deep has significantly returned dividends for the Panthers. I mean, of course, if there's probably one person I could root for on the Panthers, it's Bobrovsky. Probably the one guy who I can actually root for on that team. But hatred aside, my hatred aside, the Panthers they are significantly more balanced as a team. They have significantly more depth. They have more underrated talent. They have the more experienced coaching. I mean, come on, this is Noblock's first year, and this is Paul Maurice's 3 millionth year in hockey. So, and Paul Maurice was here exactly a year ago, and he's with the Carolina Hurricanes also when they went to the finals. Chris Noblock was, like I said, this is just his rookie season. So it's so far making sense that he's been significantly outcoached by Paul Maurice. It's not really a surprise. But as I said before, in the playoffs, expect the unexpected. Maybe the Oilers even up the series. Who knows? Or maybe I'm just deluding myself. I don't know. But I'd like to see the Oilers like. I mean, I'd love to see competitive, and also like if there's one thing that's probably going for the Oilers, it's that they've been nearly unbeatable on home ice. That's the one thing that's going for them. So if there's ever a time to call upon your home ice, Edmonton, it's now, because you're down 2-0, and I don't think you want to go down 3-0. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, just like Florida, definitely great fans. I was watching in the Western Conference Finals against Dallas. So, I mean, yeah, they
The
certainly have
Western
great fans.
Conference
Obviously,
Finals?
Canada. I mean, wait,
You
am I
said
saying that right?
Florida.
Yeah.
No, you said Florida and
Oh,
Western
did I say?
Conference. Do you mean Edmonton and Western, or do you mean Florida and Eastern?
No, I mean like Edmonton against Dallas, like in the
Yeah,
Western,
yeah.
like the Oilers.
I figured that's what you meant.
I must have missed. Yeah, the Oilers against the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Finals. But the Florida Panthers fans, they've been great. Obviously, for the past few series. I mean, I like the whole throwing the rats on the ice thing.
Few
That's a
empty
cool one.
seats though.
I
For
guess the
few,
rats.
there's quite a few empty seats for Stanley Cup Finals in Florida. That's all I'm saying.
A little bit, but I mean, again, it is Florida. Edmonton, up north in Canada, the more traditional hockey market, but their fans have also been great. It's been a while
I
for
mean,
them,
I'm
for the
I'm just
country and
saying.
for the team in general.
I mean,
So
I'm just saying
they're
for a team.
excited. That's fine. And, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just
Sorry.
saying for a team that's gone to back finals, you'd expect that every single seat would be packed. It looks like you could still book tickets during the second period for most Panthers games, even in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't be seeing these empty
yeah, I
seats
saw
in
a few.
yeah, you wouldn't be seeing these empty seats in their crosstown rival in Tampa Bay. Look at like there's barely any empty seats during the 22 finals against Colorado, and sure 21. I don't remember if that whole capacity restriction was lifted or not during the Cup Finals. I don't. I think it was lifted then because the Stanley Cup Finals was a bit later. I think so. But point being, like Tampa Bay, like their team went to three straight finals. Of course, there are no fans in 2020. 21 is either 21. I don't remember if the COVID restriction was lifted for fans or not, where they had like 25% capacity versus 100. I think it was lifted. I'm not too sure. But 22 in Tampa Bay, the stands were the fans packed those seats. For Florida, a team that's gone to back Stanley Cup Finals, one last year they were pretty much a team of destiny, and this year they're the experienced veteran. It's a bit. It's certainly quite surprising that there's quite a few empty seats during a Panthers game, during a Stanley Cup Finals Panthers game. It's quite surprising to me because I guarantee you, like, I mean, in these hypothetical scenarios, I'm just saying, you would not see this many empty seats in a Stanley Cup Finals you're definitely not going to see it for Edmonton because these people have been craving for a Stanley Cup for 34 years now. So you definitely won't see it in Edmonton. You wouldn't see this in Carolina. You wouldn't see this in Dallas. You wouldn't see this in Boston. You wouldn't see this in Montreal. You wouldn't see this in Toronto. Actually, yeah, you actually would not see this in Toronto because they're never going to make the finals. But you would not see this in Tampa Bay. You'd probably not see this in Colorado. So, and sure, like the Florida Panthers haven't exactly been the best hockey team. Like if you were to scale this out over the past like 20, 30 years, only the last 4 years the Panthers have been last 5 years the Panthers have been really good, aside from their inauguration and making the finals in '96. The Panthers haven't really been the greatest team during their stretch between the '96 finals and the '23 finals. So I understand that, but still, this is the Stanley Cup freaking finals. Sunrise, Florida is 40 minutes from Miami. Like I would have thought more people would have cared, especially with the Miami Heat also going on their own destiny run
Yeah.
during
Mm-hmm.
last year as well. I would have
Been a
thought
fun
more
time.
people would have cared. Yeah, no, it wasn't. Not a fun time. What are you talking about? But I would have
Well, I mean,
expected more.
for like fans in the same city, like for
Yeah,
both of their teams to, yeah.
yeah. I'm
Anyways,
just
yeah.
saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. I would have expected more like generated interest, especially within the home
Mhm.
base. So uh,
Yeah,
it's surprising.
that's
That's
fair.
all
I
I'm saying.
mean, yeah. Bit surprising. I mean, based on like the fan reaction I was seeing at the game yesterday, I mean, the fans who are there definitely they do care and they do show up and kind
Of
of know what's
course.
going on, and they make it exciting, and their goal song's a cool one, probably not as great as some of the ones in up north, but it's like a chill vibe like they've got going, the Rats, and and what's happening with the Rangers series was like a lot of Rangers fans from New York like were there, so it's kind of a
Yeah,
bit of a mix
they
now. Like we're
basically
seeing like, oh,
infiltrated.
like yeah, but now we're seeing like a pretty much almost. There's a few Edmonton fans like here and there, but I mean it's almost all Panthers fans, and
Well,
they're united. So
good
I mean,
luck.
other than the empty seats,
Good luck finding
what?
a Florida fan in Rogers Arena, or there's a Rogers Palace. What? Wait,
Roger,
I
yeah,
forget.
it's a
No,
long way away. I mean, that's
no, because
extremely far.
yeah, Rogers Place. The Canucks play in
Rogers,
Rogers Arena. The Canucks play in Rogers.
hmm,
I'm not gonna
weird,
remember that,
weird
but
spot.
good luck
That's
finding a
interesting.
Panthers fan in Rogers Place. Good luck. It's gonna be
Yeah,
drowned in a sea of
probably
orange
the
and
only
blue.
probably the only reason there's Oilers fans down there is because of McDavid and Draisaitl and guys like that. But anyway, I mean, I guess my point being, yeah, the Panthers fans there were rowdy and kept it exciting, and they got to see some good hockey, some convincing wins. Now it's up to the Oilers to see if they can flip the script. Back home in Edmonton, behind their own rowdy fan base, like I was saying, the Western Conference Finals against Dallas. The Oilers, yeah, their fans were great. They were excited. Even I was seeing the watch parties outside the Rogers Place. So I mean, yeah, certainly an exciting team as well. And it's been a long time for Canada and for their own team as well. For them, since they've really been this successful and made the Cup final. So it's, they definitely have something to cheer for. And more traditional market, I'm sure that helps up in Edmonton as well. But in addition to star power, but yeah, and the crowds have been great on both sides. We'll see how that affects the game tomorrow. I'm sure it'll have an impact. And yeah, it's now or never. It's go time for the Oilers, because you definitely don't want to go down 3-0 in the Cup final. Same thing with NBA. I don't want to go 3-0 down against the Mavs. I mean,
I mean,
and the NBA,
if
it's never happened. NHL
if
hardly
there is
happens.
if
So
there, if there's one series if there is one sport where the reverse sweep is the most common, it is hockey. But even then, you probably don't want to take your chances.
yeah, especially like in the Cup final, that could be quite the daunting task. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, 2-1 and 3-0 is a big, big difference, because if you can tie it up to 2-2, you have a new series, best of three, and you can even take the momentum all the way and win in six. Like the Bucks did against the Suns. Just for quick example, I guess. But that's basketball. But still, I mean, you get the idea. But coming back from 3-0 or even 3-1, really, that's a bit of a daunting task. I mean, you know what I mean. So, yeah, unless you're like LeBron James and the Cavs, like probably don't want to be taking that chance. But or whatever the equivalent is in hockey. But I
Well,
mean, but yeah, like I said,
Well, they do have McDavid and Draisaitl. Basically, they're LeBron and Kyrie. So
yeah, you never know. You never know. But still, you want to end up 2-2 after this, and it's definitely very possible. But Edmonton's gonna have to flip a switch, to really stay in the series. So hopefully they can make it competitive as well, because I'm sure no one wants to see a sweep in the Stanley Cup Finals, especially.
well,
Probably even
I
more
mean,
than the
like
NBA. But
here's the thing: if you see like a really close sweep or a really competitive sweep, I don't think people would mind. Like if you saw like a 1-0
yeah,
battle, a 2-1, if you saw a 1-0, a 2-1, or even like a 6-5 shootout, and it turns out to be a sweep
I
one
like a
way,
6-5
I don't.
shootout.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
fun.
anyone would
Yeah.
care because it's still electric. Like, but like here's the thing: Edmonton is going to be watching games 3 and 4 regardless of what happens, because it's Edmonton, and really all of Canada, because like there's pretty much the
Because
major regions of Canada would not want to see the Oilers win the cup, especially Ontario. Well, mainly the Toronto part of
yeah.
Ontario, and especially Calgary within Alberta.
Hmm.
And I imagine
Right.
Vancouver wouldn't exactly be thrilled with Edmonton winning, given that Edmonton just bested them in a series of 7 in the second round. Maybe the Probably the
Exactly.
only team that'd be like maybe the only region that'd be somewhat content with the Edmonton winning, just based on pure hockey markets, would probably be Manitoba or Halifax.
Agents.
I yeah, I don't even know what Quebec is thinking, because Quebec is probably still hating the Abs for moving out in '95, and once the Abs moved out,
Right.
lo and behold, they win the Stanley Cup their first year in Colorado. So I don't imagine
Thing.
Quebec has any rooting interest.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, maybe like the parts of Canada that don't have hockey teams are probably going for the Oilers, and probably most of the other teams are probably going for the Panthers, unless they're unless they're just rooting for Canada to win the cup or something like that. But probably most of Canada is probably rooting for the Panthers actually. Yeah, I mean it's interesting actually. So I mean, because a lot of the players are either Canadian or European on a lot of these teams, but certainly a lot of Americans too, and with the whole Canada Cup drought, I mean that's an interesting layer. But yeah, the Panthers certainly have more of the advantage right now. I mean, it's just they've just really proven how like I hate to say that they're scrappy because they've been doing it all playoffs, but they've also built on their experience. They also have star power of their own. They really just know how to be effective. They have different goal scorers in the different games, and then of course Bobrovsky's just been like nearly unbeatable. So I mean, with all that going for them, and all their depth on multiple lines that can score in multiple stars, and so many different guys like Kachuk and Barkov, and Rodriguez has had a big series, and Ekblad's had a goal, and Mikola, they have more depth than the top heavy Oilers, and I think that's really so, along with the great defending and goaltending, I think that's creating an advantage over
And,
Edmonton right now. But yeah,
just being a completely overwhelming pest. That too. That's the
the way they
Panthers.
just go after pucks and just battle for everything. I mean, that's that's their spirit. That's really just keeping them in these games, and they're just more aggressive, and they're able to keep the puck in the in the offensive zone, create shots on goal, and eventually you keep doing that enough, and some of them are going to go in. And I think that's also that's also creating a difference here, and that's definitely getting the Panthers. It's going to make the Panthers win more times than they don't if they continue to just be more aggressive and fight for every puck, and put shots towards the goal, because eventually some of them are going to go in. I mean, sometimes it really is that simple, especially on the other end. You got Bobrovsky, who's going to save a lot of them. I mean, if you have if you have the better offense and the better defense, then chances are you're going to win. Especially if you keep putting pressure on the other team. But yeah, like I said, we'll see if Edmonton can change things up a little bit. In game 3, I mean, certainly not over, but it have to be a bit of a big shift. But the
Yeah.
Cats up 2-0, and obviously Celtics up 2-0. And I guess with that, I mean, the other thing I did want to talk about, the Cricket World Cup. It's been really exciting lately. I mean, between the U.S.'s upset over Pakistan
I
last, I think
was
that was
not
last
expecting.
Thursday.
I don't think
Yeah, me
anyone
neither.
was expecting
Shocked.
that. And
Mhm.
likewise today, like we, as in the United States, started out quite crappy against India on the
Very
batting,
good. Oh well, I mean
and
the
then
batting side, yeah.
we made it somewhat respectable with a being out at 110 at at 8 wickets with 20 overs. We made it quite respectable. And of course, India starts out quite terribly with Kohli again. Like Kohli with this third crappy performance in a row might be a little bit concerning.
Hmm.
And Sharma's back to back crappy performance. They got out early
Yeah,
again, and I'm thinking, does the United States actually have a chance to beat India? And
that's
then
what I was
uh,
thinking too. Yeah.
India's depth prevails, especially with Surya Kumar.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
he
Yadav
he
with the
did a mighty
50.
fine job. And so
Mm.
here's the thing. Like,
And Dubé
th-
also
no,
had some big shots towards
yeah,
the end, cleared them
listen,
over the line.
yeah, this India win, it means two things for both teams. This should mean nothing for India. If anything, it should be concerning that the United States was able to hang with them of all time, because the United States, majority of the United States didn't even know what the hell is cricket until we just magically beat Pakistan, and we just assembled a cricket
Right.
team 15 minutes. We assembled a cricket team 15 minutes ago, and we beat Pakistan.
Yeah.
Like, that's not supposed to happen, and we nearly beat India, a perennial powerhouse
Mhm.
in cricket. So India should be concerned about this win. I'm saying that. And the United States, oh hell yeah, just ride with all that momentum. You realize
Yeah.
just one win against Ireland, and
Hmm.
the United States is in the Super Eight. Just one more win.
Man, one more win. Yeah. Honestly, like the way the weather
Although
forecast is looking,
but
that
but
will make it rain
Pakistan,
out. But
listen, Pakistan still has like a slight chance. Like they have a slim
right.
chance, but they
Yeah.
need a
They've got to beat
win out.
Ireland though,
Yeah, what they need is to win out, and for the
and have
United
the
States to
U.S. beat out.
lose, and also Pakistan needs to have a higher NRR
Right.
than the
And
United States if they were to tie in record. So that's the one thing
yeah.
that Pakistan. Well, those are the couple things that Pakistan needs to advance. Australia, of course, being the class of their division, that's not a surprise.
Right.
Scotland at 2. Namibia. Did you see the Namibia Australia match yesterday? Dear God, I watched that.
Mm, I missed it,
That
but yeah.
calling it
I just
god,
saw the score though. I mean, Australia cruised.
calling it god awful is a massive understatement. England is underperforming, and then who's this one? I completely forgot Oman's in the tournament. Completely forgot about that. Um, Here's a surprise for Group C. Afghanistan is leading the division, and New Zealand's in last. Well, I mean, but here's the thing: New Zealand's played
Yeah.
one game, and they've lost one game. But
Mm-hmm.
Afghanistan,
Very badly.
Afghanistan,
Again.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, saying they lost badly is a massive understatement. Afghanistan is two
Well, they got
zero. Yeah, Afghanistan is two
right.
zero. They have a supreme run rate of 5.225 right now. Um,
Yeah.
who's W1? Oh, West Indies. I'm not used to these
West Indies.
initials. Yeah. I'm not used to the initials. So West Indies, they're still hanging around there. They're also 2-0, but their run rate is a bit inferior compared to Afghanistan. They're 3.574 compared to
Right.
5.225. So all things being, West Indies will probably make the Super Eight. Uganda,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know Uganda had a cricket team, but they in the games they played against what do you call it, Papua New Guinea. I was they had like some fairly solid performances here and there, so it's been nice to see. New Zealand, I mean,
Yeah.
I think New Zealand is playing a match tonight, if I remember correctly. Let me see who it's
Yeah.
against. Who's it against?
Against the West Indies. It's
Weston.
going to be a
Okay,
really good game. I'm excited
yeah,
to see
but
that one.
this is a must win for New Zealand. If they lose this game,
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're advancing. And
They're
of
done.
course,
They're
my
done.
final prediction was Aussie versus New Zealand. If I remember correctly,
Ooh.
that was either the last T20 finals matchup or the previous year. I don't remember. I think it was
I think it
the
was the
last year.
previous one.
Yeah, let me see.
Because England won the. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Let's see. Wait, Australia, New Zealand T20 final. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like it was in 21. Yeah, 2021, and Australia won it. So yeah, I was thinking of 2021. Um, and then Group D, South Africa. Well, they went deep in they went to the semifinals in the World Cricket Cup last year. They're leading their division 3-0. But I mean, am I surprised that Group D, like, all their run rates are quite crappy? No one has a run rate over one. it's a little bit surprising that South Africa's run rate isn't that high. Bangladesh is at
Right,
number
considering
two.
right now, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Bangladesh is at number two. The Netherlands is at three. Nepal's at four, and Sri Lanka is at five. I, I'm a bit surprised and at the same time not surprised with Sri Lanka because, I mean, if you remember Sri Lanka during the early 2000s and late 2000s and early 2010s, Sri Lanka was a powerhouse in cricket, but they've been, I wouldn't exactly say fallen off the map, but they haven't been living up to their true potential of what they
Right.
should be.
Yeah.
And and if you remember, why am I blanking? Um, Sri Lanka, they had a horrible game against South Africa. Was it that they
Oh yeah,
bowled out at
I
70?
was watching that one. Like,
Yeah, they bowled out at
77
77.
something.
Yeah, but they had a
And then New
really
York,
they had a
like that was even
yeah,
worse than a lot
and
of the other ones for sure. Yeah.
the thing is they had a really solid game against Bangladesh. It's just that Bangladesh outlasted
Right.
them by 2 wickets. Right, I think Bangladesh also won with one over to spare, if I remember correctly. It was either one or two overs. I,
Yeah.
I don't remember which
Yeah.
one.
Six balls
So
remaining. Yeah.
so yeah, Sri Lanka and of course so Sri Lanka, they arguably should have beaten Bangladesh. If they beat Bangladesh, then they're right back in contention. But and I get that South Africa's a pretty solid team, but you lost like that. 70, you bowled out at
Oh,
77.
no,
Are you kidding me?
not
Like,
good. Yeah, it's not good. And they batted first too, which was just not a great decision. But anyway, I mean, yeah, and then South Africa beat Bangladesh by 4 runs. That was also a thrilling chase, and interesting rules of cricket. Like with I think something happened in that game where they took away like a four that Bangladesh got, and then
yeah, yeah,
in
you saw
today's
that
match,
too. No, wait,
yeah,
wait.
it was a yeah,
Speaking of things that shouldn't count, I mean, you know me. I hate soccer. I find it boring. I just find it completely uninteresting. By any chance, did you see the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers match, India versus Qatar?
Oh yeah, I saw what happened. That was like complete, like I don't even want to say it, but like no, they got robbed because India got
What
robbed
do
by this
you?
because the
I
ball went
mean, you
out of
could
bounds and then
yeah, you could
brought it
you
back
could say.
in.
What are you trying to say?
It's BS.
Corruption, bribery. Yeah,
Oh,
you could say
all of
it.
that. Yeah. Right, yeah, they definitely got paid. So I mean, like, no, I mean, come on, like the ball went out of bounds, and then Qatar brought it back in, and then they scored, and somehow it counted. And this is like an international tournament. Like, I don't know what the heck is going
And
on,
Qatar
but
and Qatar
anyway,
won
so
2-1.
2-1,
And Qatar,
right? Yeah, they
well,
they won
well,
by that.
well. Sorry, 1-2-1.
Right. So now they're into the next stage of the Asia qualifiers, which I honestly haven't really been following at all. But that was just very upsetting to
Yeah,
see. But
and I
you
think
know,
India's eliminated, right?
yeah, I think they're out. I think they're out of that, out of qualifying now for the tournament that's going to be here in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Copa America is also like going to be underway soon, actually, which is speaking of soccer. So the U.S., I think they lost to. Did they lose to the other night? And they lost to some one of South American teams. They're playing Brazil tonight. So I mean,
Oh, that they're
you
gonna
know,
get
in
they're
a
gonna
while.
get hammered.
Yeah,
Probably.
they lost to like the other teams. So I mean, yeah, it was it was not good, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting because usually there's the Gold Cup, which is all in North America, but against Argentina and Brazil and the top players, I'm sure are gonna be playing in the actual matches, but yeah, no, so Copa America going up, starting soon again here in the U.S. So yeah,
And
I mean a lot going on.
of course the United States and Canada get a free pass into the World Cup tournament, even though both soccer teams are trash. Um,
Yeah, at
here
least the U.S. made the
here
knockouts in 22, so that was a good
yeah, but
sign. But
we didn't even make the qualifiers in 18 because we lost to Trinidad.
I
Like,
know that was
how do you do that?
terrible. But I
I,
wanted to say that the U.S. lost they've been dominating Mexico, which I'm really happy about lately, in
That's
pretty
been.
much any game that they
What
play.
do you mean lately? That's been a trend for like the past 2 decades, where it's
For
like every
for
no
20
every
years,
unit
yeah,
no
or for the first time.
every U.S. versus Mexico match has ended up like 2-1, 3-1, or 2-0. Like that's pretty much
Yeah,
been
or
every
dos a
U.S.
zero,
versus Mexico match.
2-0. Yeah. Yeah, well, they did lose 5-1 to Colombia in the warm-up match, so yeah, South America is like on a different level, obviously. I think it's between them and Europe as like the best soccer sides in the world. Obviously with Argentina
That
beating
that's
France in the last World Cup final,
that
but in
that's not
general
really
too.
the no that's not really the dispute, because like for the past like who knows how many years, the main power like the big powerhouses for soccer has always been Brazil, Argentina, France, Germany,
Germany,
Belgium, um, Croatia over the past couple of years, the
Croatia,
UK, yeah,
yeah,
the UK, Italy, kind
or
of
Italy.
Mexico. Well, no, I can't really say Mexico, because Mexico is like the Los Angeles Clippers of international soccer.
They fell
Um,
off. Yeah,
yeah. So those are like Europe has, in my opinion, like I think the European countries are more stacked in terms of soccer. Oh yeah, Portugal. How do we forget? Because Ronaldo. Um, but like Europe has more soccer talent than South America, because the two big powerhouses in South America are Brazil and Argentina. And Messi's, I don't even know if Messi's going to play in 26, but like he's, I wouldn't exactly say on his last legs, but 26 is definitely going to be his last FIFA tournament without a doubt. And who knows how much more soccer Neymar has in him? I have no idea. I mean, besides like those are the two big. I mean, Colombia, they were a big contender in 2014, so maybe you can count them as the third one. But aside from that, like there's not really much, like not really a whole lot of soccer talent with, within South America as a whole, aside from those three nations. Whereas Europe, it's littered with soccer talent. You got Portugal, you got England, you have France, you have Germany, you have occasionally Italy, you have Croatia, you have Belgium, like, and I yeah. So that they've been Europe is the more talented soccer country, without a doubt. Like if you realize this, like
yeah. Mhm.
every country, every like there are hardly any countries that dominate multiple sports. There's hardly any. Canada has soccer. That's what I mean. What the hell am I talking about? Canada sucks at soccer. Yeah.
Huh? Right.
Canada has hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Canada has hockey. That's the one sport they're good at.
Hmm.
You've seen them. Canada's awful at cricket.
Oh
Canada's
yeah.
awful.
Hmm.
Canada's awful at soccer. And
Trying to
so yeah.
get better at soccer. They have some basketball players, but
Yeah.
they're just not really that great at that either. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
definitely the best at hockey and probably some of the other Winter Olympic sports, to be honest. But
Well,
but yeah, I mean
listen,
that goes with obviously
curling.
the climate.
Listen,
And,
curling is not a sport. It's just sweeping a
yeah,
broom on ice. But the United States,
no,
we're
I
good.
agree.
Yeah, the United
We're
States,
good at
we're good
everything.
at we're no, we're not. We're good at baseball and we're good
No,
at
not everything.
basketball. No one
Right.
plays the NFL international, so we can't just
Yeah,
assume that.
yeah, we
We're
can't claim that one.
yeah we're good at baseball and we're good at basketball. That's pretty much
All
it.
right.
Um, let's see,
Yeah,
Mexico.
you're decent at some
Yeah,
stuff, but
Mexico is
yeah.
consistent with soccer. New Zealand is one of the two is one of the few like one of the few dual countries, I should say, because New Zealand is awesome when it comes to cricket, and they're especially deadly at
Hmm.
rugby. I don't know if you've ever seen like a
That's
New
nice.
Zealand All Blacks, like the New Zealand All Blacks. They're one of the most dominant rugby teams ever. It's awesome to watch. And then
Yeah, rugby's a
Australia,
fun one. Actually.
no
Kind of the same idea, right?
rugby's cool. And Australia, of
Yeah,
course,
it's cool.
Australia's a perennial cricket powerhouse. It's been that way for a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, and of course, all of Europe is pretty much just good at soccer. That's pretty much it.
All right.
Pretty much, like hardly any of them. are. I mean, listen, there are certain talents you can get from like certain countries. Like for example, Leon Draisaitl is German. Tuukka Rask came from Finland. Um, the
Hmm.
Matthias Ekholm. Wait, Ekholm's Swedish, I think, right? Yeah, Ekholm is Swedish. Then there's Elias Lindholm, Hampus Lindholm. They're from Sweden. So, and of course, Timo Meyer, Nico Hischier, they're Swiss.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that those teams aren't good at because they played in the what was that tournament that was there last year? I forget. Like it was between
Like the world something.
yeah yeah
Hockey
yeah
World
yeah
Champion.
the Hockey World Championship. You're able to see teams like Finland, Sweden, like they're able to put on quite a show when it comes to hockey. And of course, Canada
Right.
lost. Canada lost in the World Juniors, even with Bedard and Matt. Like so, yeah. Like so, maybe they're starting to come around with hockey. I mean, I still don't know how popular those sports are in those respective countries compared to soccer, but maybe some dual sports are on the horizon. And of course, like Japan will always be murdering us when it comes to baseball. Like the Japan will always murder us when it comes to baseball. That's without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we kind of did go on a little tangents. Yeah, it's interesting to think about who's good at what sport and whatnot. And I guess, yeah. I mean, speaking of the controversial rules, well, maybe not so controversial. Well, obviously, the 4 runs from Bangladesh. In the U.S. India match. Well, I mean, I guess the U.S. did kind of take too long between overs a couple of times, and I feel like the 5 runs that they gave India did help. But at the same time, I think India was going to complete the chase because they were just starting to hit more boundaries and stuff like that. But the 5 runs didn't help. Obviously, dropping Netra Valker dropping Surya Kumar Yadav. That was a big one. I mean, this could have been a closer
That should have
game.
been
At
a
the same
wicket.
time, I think India that should have been a
No,
wicket. The 5 runs thing, you shouldn't be giving up 5 runs. But that being said, I mean, the U.S. did put up quite a good fight. I mean, they took Netra Valker. His story is incredible. I mean, an Oracle engineer, plays cricket for the U.S. and he's
safe
gotten
to
the
say
wickets
some.
now for
Safe to say
Sharma,
some.
Kohli. I mean,
Yeah. Safe to say someone is getting a raise when this tournament's over.
yeah. Yeah, back-to-back games. India lost their openers very early, and but they've their middle order has definitely survived and thrived, and they've been able to
Yep.
create a comeback. But I mean, I think it's going to be really cool to see potentially the India and the U.S. making it to the Super Eights. And then the India Pakistan game, that was a fun one, but
Well,
I was really
well,
scared
India's
that they were going
clinched.
to, but
India's
with
clinched.
119, yeah.
The United States needs to win one more game,
Right, India's clinch. Yeah, the U.S. needs to win one more, or
and
I guess
Pac
if Pakistan loses. But yeah, I agree.
Pakistan can clinch. They just need to win out. The United States needs to lose. Needs to lose one, right? Because every team has played three now.
Mm,
Because the United States
yeah, they
played
just yeah,
Canada, they played Pakistan,
yeah,
they played
and they played India.
India. So the only team the United States hasn't played is Ireland. So yeah,
Right.
you can only
And
so
same thing with
what
Pakistan
Pac
too now.
so
Yeah.
Pac yeah so Pakistan were to qualify, they need uh they need America to lose to Ireland, and of course
Right.
Pakistan needs to win, and Pakistan needs to have a higher NRR
Right.
compared to the United States to qualify. It is certainly it's difficult, but it's certainly possible for Pakistan to pull off.
Yeah. It is. It's difficult, but especially yeah, it's gonna be hard, but it's possible. I mean, we'll see how many of these games get played in Florida because I heard there's gonna be a lot of rain. So we'll see if
When
the
does there
U.S.
not
just
rain in
auto
Florida?
gets in. Yeah. But there's been like tropical storms and stuff. But I mean, the India Pakistan game, that was certainly an exciting one, biggest rivalry. No, that New York pitch has produced ridiculously low totals, but like South Africa defended 113, India defended 119. I was kind of scared that Pakistan was going to lose, but they fell off their chase, and were not able to catch up at the end. They also lost a lot of wickets too, so I mean, India was able to keep that going. Bumrah had spectacular
No,
over
I thought India. I thought
overs.
India. I mean, I thought India lost that game from the first over. That's when they were batting. I thought India
Yeah,
lost
losing
that game,
Kohli and Sharma. Yeah, especially when they
but
got bowled out for 119. But I mean, their bowling really
yeah,
saved them. Boomer had the big
Bumrah,
game against
Bumrah,
Pakistan.
Siraj, and
Yeah,
Arshdeep, Bumrah,
and
Siraj, and
Saraj.
Arshdeep,
Yeah, all
they
three of them.
clutched up. They clutched up big time.
Oh yeah. And then in this game today, yeah, Boomer I think had 3 wickets for 14 runs, and then all three bowlers just playing on fire. And then in this game, Arshdeep Singh had 4 wickets for with 9 runs. So I mean, just incredible performances. And then yeah, I think Mohammad Siraj took like a really athletic catch back there. That could have been a six. That was just very impressive in my opinion. But I mean, but yeah, like I said, it's been certainly an exciting tournament. The US has played really well. Obviously India's still the class of the group, and looks like both of them will go through. But Pakistan could still get in if they win. The US lose, and they have a superior net run rate, which in that case would probably happen if they were able to get one win and the US loses. But a lot of cricket left to be decided, I guess. It's been a fun tournament, and apparently, due to the ICC, they already auto seeded the groups in the Super Eight. So whichever teams qualify, like their match is already set. Looks like India and Australia are going to be in the same Super Eight group, and they're already set to square off because both of them have already qualified. And I think South Africa's already qualified, but that's what I saw. So that should be really interesting if that happens in the Super Eights, and then see if they end up playing again and later on the tournament. But I definitely want to get some revenge on them because they're like that's really good. But did you see what like who said that? Like Hazelwood said they want to like make sure England loses or something like that, and Scotland moves through, and then now like I don't know, they might be investigated for like tampering it or something like that. If that I don't know what the deal with that is,
I
but
saw that, but I don't think it's anything serious.
yeah, I don't think he was really being serious. But yeah, England's in danger of not moving on the way this is going. They only have 1 point, and then Pakistan's in danger of not moving on as well. New Zealand's certainly in danger if they don't win today. We'll see how that game goes against the West Indies. But yeah, it looks like Afghanistan, West Indies in the driver's seat. Group D still kind of wide open for the second spot, and then Group B, it could very well be Australia and Scotland, but we'll have to see. And then Group A, very good chance India and the U.S. may again send Pakistan home, which I think is what both of us want to see, and would be nice. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, I think that pretty much covers the Cricket World Cup. So I mean, I guess just to wrap up, I mean, we saw the French Open finals, this past weekend, and obviously, some good games. But Alcaraz winning a 5-set thriller against Zverev, kind of cruised in the last 2 sets, but Zverev certainly made it interesting, winning second and third one. So Alcaraz, I think, probably the best candidate to become the next big power in men's tennis, and then in women's tennis, Swiatek, beat Polini. Well, first took down Coco Gauff, and Polini beat Andreeva,
She,
who's
she
the
three-peated.
young 17-year-old. Yeah, and Swiatek now 3-time French champion.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
certainly she's just
Four. Four.
four, but 3 in a
She
row.
three-peated. Yeah.
Yeah, she's certainly like on a different level than like even Coco Gauff had such a good tournament, the number 3 player in the world, and Swiatek absolutely, like relatively cruised past her. And then in the championship game, lopsided match against Polini, although Polini's a bit newer to the big stage, but still Swiatek 3 in a row, especially on clay, is definitely top notch player. And then Alcaraz also, getting a win. I think that's his second major, right? Because he didn't he also win. He won one last year. Did he also win the French Open last year or Wimbledon? Yeah, I think he won
He
the French.
won Wimbledon against Novak.
Yeah, that's right. He beat Novak in Wimbledon, and then he won this tournament. I think he's going to be there for a long time to come, and potentially become the next big power in tennis. Zverev's also been close, and then I think on the women's side, Swiatek as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up. With the French Open. I guess next on, yeah, so Swiatek and Alcaraz, and next we got Wimbledon. We got a big summer coming up with tennis tournaments. Obviously the Cricket World Cup. the Olympics later in the summer. But in the meantime, we'll resume with NBA and Stanley Cup coverage next week once again, as well as of course, the coverage of the Cricket World Cup. But in the meantime, this has been another exciting episode of Sports Vibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar, signing off for Jitesh Ramakrishnan, and as always, we'll see you next week.